So when it comes to repairs, often the one that ends up being the most expensive is sometimes the one that we try to ignore initially as owners, right? And the getting in front of these expenses and oftentimes it's like seeing all of these little things like death by a thousand cuts on these properties. Tenant puts in a request and you're like, wait, what's going on? Why did this break? I remember, back in the day, I used to tell people all the time it was dishwashers, right? If you live in your house, as soon as somebody new moves in there, there's a high probability that that dishwasher is going to be used differently over the next year. And you might want to expect that something might come to that. That comes to, okay, how soon should you be making those repairs? How quickly should that happen? In our opinion, it's quickly, it's fast. In the industry, I like to consider that we have a better quality of tenant. I think that we have more responsiveness. I think that we have better vendors for these things. And because our property managers are trained to be detectives in these situations, we're doing our best to get, the best value, which doesn't always mean the cheapest by far, but we're trying to get those things figured out. And I think these are things as owners that you want to know and make sure that they're getting handled appropriately. The cost of things right now is high. I know that we're all feeling the pinch. I know that as owners, it's like we're doing our best on our end to mitigate that. A lot of times there's not much control we have over what the costs of these things are going to be, other than the fact of just get it done quickly, because we know the cost of waiting is going to oftentimes cost you more. When a tenant needs something fixed that might not seem super significant to you, but is to them because it's a part of their daily life, their everyday, that can end up turning into an experience for them that doesn't serve you as the owner. We want to keep the tenants there. We want to make sure that they're getting the quickest responses. We're not always telling them yes. That's not our job, right? Our job isn't to give them the yes. It's to make sure that we're honoring the lease and ensuring that they're honoring the lease as well. By honoring the lease, we've got to do certain things and make sure that that's being handled and, in a certain time. The last thing we want to do is lose a tenant on your behalf because we didn't respond quickly. Now, if we're getting responses and we need to get something fixed, we need to get something rectified, our objective is to get that done fast, quick. Make the decision, move on, let's go on, and make sure that the tenant knows that this stuff is getting handled. So I think that's a big one right now, is just making sure that as we get into monsoon season, as we get into, AC season, as we get into all of these things where we're seeing these regular maintenance items coming up, hopefully we've gotten ahead of it with your property by servicing the units or, making sure that we know what issues are going to be coming up this year. But if something surprises us, it's definitely something that we're going to bring to your attention quickly and ensure that we can get it done fast. The other thing is just making sure that as we're making these decisions, we're recognizing that we are keeping the decision for rents separate from maintenance. The repair decisions that we need to make have no bearing on what we think rents are going to be or where rents can be. That's a different type of conversation. If you'd like to talk more about that, I'd be more than happy to, because this is something that I struggle with often. There's a property that we recently had that ultimately rents have been exceptionally low for a very, very, very long time, and it's time to increase those rents. But I also know that the cost to redo that property to get those rents is going to be there's going to be a balance there. So we got to look at that and make sure that we're always looking at those numbers and ensuring that financially it makes economic sense, not only for the market, but also the owner, right? Where are you at with it? Can you dump X thousands of dollars into this property right now? And does that serve you? And does it work? Or are there other options that we need to explore as well? So again, some of the conversations that we're having behind the scenes, I hope this is helpful. We are constantly working on these types of things to make our service better. We're constantly having these conversations behind the scenes to make the service better, to make your experience better. That's part of the process. That's why this is fun, right? That's why we show up. But thank you so much, and I will see you next week.